on, but you can't lie to yourself. I am disciplined. I am committed. I do care about it. You can be a man by virtue of your biology, a daily practice like going to the gym every day or a daily devotional. Go to the gym, take a lap, and go home for 7 days straight.
What's up, family? It's your main man, Coach Cro, with another great episode of the Boy Man King podcast. And I'm with my main man, Chisy. Say what's up to the people, Chisy.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, man? I'm excited. Looking forward to this conversation.
And I know for a lot of y'all who might say, you know, I'm a
guest
Marvel guy. I'm a DC guy. I know you may be going back and forth, and I know you may try to think about what superhero. And guess what? It's not Clark Kent, it's not Superman, it's not Iron Man, but he does have traits of them all. I got to give it up for the entrepreneur, man. Every day means every day. Man, this guy is a leader. This guy is somebody who is pushing the envelope forward. And now he's putting out dope content. You got to follow him. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the platform none other than Brandon B. Burns. What's up, fam? How you doing, brother?
Yeah, thank you. I'm nervous now. I like it when pros, set the bar low, but you just called me Superman, so now I gotta bring it.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, hey, listen, I've seen you try to be humble, and I see you live up to it. And I want to I've been knowing you for years, but man, you hit two marks for me this summer. One, I knew you could speak. I know, you know what I mean? But I didn't know, you know what I mean? It's like, for speakers, it's like we got, it's like hoopers. I know all different sports but it's like, oh, he could play, but can he really play? You know what I mean? It's like, he could speak, but can he really? And then like, bro, you killed the stage at the Next Level Speakers Annual Conference this summer in Atlanta. But even though that impressed me, that didn't shock me. You know what I mean? Because I kind of still knew you kind of been around and you've been in the game. So I was like, okay, now I know he got the juice. Cool. But what shocked me was the hotel lobby. Everybody is carrying suitcases, Chizzy. Everybody got like, man, I'm trying to get settled. It's 1,000 people. We're in and out. And here comes B with the biggest cooler you ever seen in a hotel lobby. And I'm like, yo, B, like, why you got this huge cooler? He was like, meal prep, bro, meal prep. When I travel here, when I travel there, I got to stay locked in because every day means every day. I was like, yo, this guy is locked in. So B, when I tell you this guy is the health guy, when I tell you this guy takes whatever he does serious to the next level, man, listen. And extreme execution, shout out to the ETA fam. Like B, man, listen, bro, my respect level, because we all grown adults now. It's not like we college kids. For you to be walking around a hotel lobby with a cooler bigger than suitcases, and you were like, yo, bro, like, I don't care about nothing. My meal plan is my meal plan, whether I'm at a conference, whether I'm traveling, whether I'm with my girl, who he was at the time. Like, it was just like, I was like, yo, this guy is locked in. Talk about men and what it takes for men to be locked in to get what they're trying to get from a goal, from a health perspective, or just their physical goals. Because every man that I know got a physical goal on some level. But you're living it, you're walking in it, but I don't think people know the journey. So kind of help men navigate that piece about why you do what you do. And I think you was in a bodybuilding show recently as well, man. You got a lot going on.
Yeah. So that was actually why I had all my meal prep with me. I had a bodybuilding competition about a month after that conference. So I probably walked in around 7 or 8% body fat, had the whole meal prep situation with me just to keep up the trend, leading up to the show. But I think when it comes to a health goal, but really any goal for men specifically, I think a level of stoicism and detachment is so important because a lot of people have a goal. And one thing that we know from simple psychology is that having a goal or having a desire is not enough to allow you to achieve it, right? Like we all know every dude wants a six pack. Well, why does, 1 to 5% of men actually have one? Because wanting it is not enough. And I think that people want something and they feel that fire inside, they feel that drive to go get it. But then when they get confronted with the reality of what it requires and what it takes to achieve it, all of a sudden that fire gets put out a little bit. And so I think for me, it was just a matter of, okay, I got this big conference coming up, going to be speaking in front of 800 people. I feel terrible, by the way, because when you get down to that low body fat percentage and you're eating bird food all day, your energy is not really what it normally would be. You just have to detach from that and say, here's the deal. It takes what it takes And the results that I desire to achieve could care less about my opinion of the price that is required to achieve them. And so many people just get caught up in that. It's like, oh, but I want it to be easier. Like during prep, I actually had somebody ask me at the gym one time, how do you make dealing with the cravings easier? And I said, you're asking the wrong question. Because
come on.
by asking that question, what you're telling me is you're looking for an easier way through or an easier way out. You ain't going to get one. Like if that's what you're looking for, you're not about to find it. The better question is, how can I prepare myself and my internal strength to be able to pay the price that is required? Because the price ain't changing. The only thing that can change is your attitude about the price.
Hold on. I know Chisy got some questions, but I just got one more, bro. Yeah. So you kind of breezed through a couple of things, but I want to go back because you said it so simple, but it's not simple. Talk about that detachment piece. Yeah, okay, every man got this goal and this desire, but you said that's not enough. But talk about what are you doing psychologically or emotionally to detach yourself away from, because like you said, basic human psychology, we're trying to find a way out. We're trying to find a way easy. We're trying to find a way to make it more accommodating or more comfortable. What are you doing to make the detachment, you know what I mean, to make it practical day to day?
Yeah. For me, I'm striving to make one decision and one decision only. Whereas I think most people that have a goal like that, they have to make decisions every single day. And what I mean by that is most of us, when we say that we're going to lose 20 pounds or we're going to compete in a bodybuilding show, every single day, like for example, my prep was about 3.5 months. So the way most people approach that is every single day for 3.5 months, they got to wake up and make a choice and make a decision that today I'm going to stick to my meal plan. Today I'm going to work out. Today I'm going to do the things that are in alignment with me actually achieving that goal. But that takes so much willpower and so much effort when you got to walk through that mental process every single day. Of course, you're going to get tired of it. My goal was when I decided to do the bodybuilding competition, that was one decision. Everything else after that was already a wrap. That decision had already been made. I'm not about to debate with myself for the next 3.5 months. When I made the initial choice that this is what I'm going to do, every decision for the next 3.5 months as it related to where I went, who I went with, what I ate, where I ate, when I worked out, how I worked out, every single one of those decisions for the next 3.5 months was already made. And that was the mindset that the track is already set up for me. I just got to go down it. But what I'm not going to do is go back and forth with myself and argue with myself and my feelings every single day of whether or not I'm going to stick to what I said I would do.
So I just want to interject a little bit because I think all of us, every man, every person makes a decision on however they want their life to play out, right? But there's a definite discipline and consistency that's necessary because if you plan anything, if you started a business, you know that you start at the end and you work your way backwards and you put all these things in place to get to that end goal. The reality is 95% of the world struggles in actualizing every goal that they want to achieve in life. I'm one of those persons, pretty sure at different levels, we've all struggled with actualizing a goal, right? What are the disciplinary steps that you need to put in place to protect yourself from yourself? Having a goal is one component, and that's great, but actualizing that goal requires strict discipline, not just in bodybuilding. I think that's the most difficult goal to achieve for a lot of people because the emotional attachments people have to food and the lack of discipline that people have just in leaving the house every day. You know what I mean? So that's a whole nother conversation about bodybuilding. And of course, I'm speaking metaphorically as it relates to other things because, of course, bodybuilding is one of your areas of expertise. What are the things, the tangible things that people have to do to really start on that journey to shed their own flesh, to really, protect themselves from themselves and be successful incrementally? Because you can't ideally say, I'm going to make $1 million and it's not. You have to be strictly disciplined to get to that space incrementally over time. Speak a little bit about that just to give some context to the realities.
Yeah, that's a great question.
I'm
so
going
two
to have
things
this
immediately
particular
come to
goal that I
mind.
want to achieve.
Number one, you got to have good people around you, right? It blew my mind when I was a gymnast at Michigan that I was willing to let myself down almost every day. You wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you got to go to morning strength training, and you don't want to do that. And if it was just me that I was worried about and concerned about, I probably would have let myself down every single week. But I had coaches that I respected that were holding me accountable. I had teammates that I respected that were holding me accountable. And I was willing to let me down, but I wasn't willing to let them down. So I think that a public declaration of your goal around other, especially men that you respect, that will help hold you accountable and won't really let you get away with that low level behavior, that's critical. You have to have some kind of support system and some level of public accountability. The second thing I would say is you got to have a track record with yourself. If you're going to go into something that's a big goal, whether that be physically, financially, relationally, anything in your life, you got to be able to trust you. And I always tell people, you can kid a kid, you can fool a fool, you can con a con, but you can't lie to yourself. Your soul will believe half of what you tell it and all of what you show it. So you can stand in the mirror all day long and shout affirmations. But if you have a track record of letting yourself down with the little stuff, of course, you're not going to really believe that identity. And I believe that humans will never consistently act in a way that is out of alignment with who they truly believe themselves to be at their core. So if you've got a 10-year history of being inconsistent, of letting yourself down on your goals, of not being accountable, of not following through, you might do the right things for a week or a month, but eventually you're going to slip back into that old identity. So the way that you overcome that self-sabotage is simply by building a track record with yourself. So for me, my daily practice, every day means every day, I go to the gym every single day. And it honestly has very little to do with health. Like if just regular health is your goal, I promise you can get away with 3 or 4 days a week in the gym. Like you really don't need to be in there every single day. The reason I do it is because when life gets difficult or when I'm in an adverse situation, I want to have 10 years of receipts where I can look back and go, oh, I am disciplined. I am committed. I do care about myself. I can push through difficult situations and do what is required, even when I don't feel like it. And when you start to build that track record with the little stuff, I don't care what it is. It could be going to the gym, it could be making your bed every morning. It could be something within your relationship. Like, I don't care what that little thing is. It could take you 30 seconds a day. But when you build that reputation when you're with yourself, it's very difficult for any kind of external circumstance to overcome that.
That level of discipline, again, B, you can speak to this better than anybody. That's a whole 3 to 4 hour podcast just on the discipline of getting to be a bodybuilder. That's a whole next level of discipline and psychology that's required. I'm not even going there. But of course, for the practical applications for goal setting on a personal level, that training every day, to your point, and I can attest to that, it almost becomes commonplace because it's transferable to other areas of your life that I feel like you never ever really can get away from. And people start to look at you funny, really and truly, like you're going to the gym every day, because they look at it like it's the physical benefits of going. But necessarily for me in particular, it's not really about the physical benefits. It's really about the psychology. It's about the mental health. It's about the routine. And we often on the platform talk about the 3 non-negotiables for your daily routine. So for me, it's my devotion, it's my family, and it's my gym routine. You know what I mean? So to your point, a lot of these things that we put in place can transfer into other areas of your life. But I think the starting point for most people is where people struggle, because some people say it takes 30 days to build a new habit. Some people say it takes 60, but men in particular, we encourage this in our space because we recognize that we physically, we're required to feel a lot more, to do a lot more, to shoulder a lot more. So for us, that journey in and of itself, can really lend to how we are successful in so many different areas of your life. You say you did gymnastics in Michigan in school. How did you initially get into this space? Because some people would say, man, I've been doing this for a long time. It's natural for me. What about the 300 plus pound guy? When I see people who are overweight in the gym, I applaud them more than I applaud myself, because that requires a lot more discipline than myself or yourself or anyone else who's done this for their entire lives. That initial step is that getting off the porch. What are the initial steps that have to be taken to do that? What am I doing every day and initially to get off the porch, to want to putting posters up in your house. Like, what is it? Putting notifications. What is it that's going to tell this, that's going to encourage me
Yeah.
or
So there's
someone
so much
else
there. The first thing I want to
to
say
get
is
off
I
their
want to go
porch?
back to what you mentioned about the value in a daily practice like going to the gym every day or a daily devotional. The value in that truly is the routine more so than it is any sort of long tail, long-term result. What I mean by that is I think that God was very crafty when he designed the universe, and he understood that we're, fallen beings with selfish desires, and we're attracted to superficial results. But at the end of the day, the true results that you want, like you start going to the gym, it's because you think that you want to look good. You think you want the big biceps or the six pack or something. The true benefit and result of going to the gym every day has nothing to do with the way that your body looks. You actually don't have to wait 12 months or 18 months through your workout routine to get those benefits. The true benefit happens instantaneously when you show up and you prove to yourself that you care about yourself and love yourself enough to invest in yourself. That's what it's the character that you build in the moment when you do get up off the porch. That is when things actually begin to change for you, right? The long tail results of the way your body's going to look is just kind of the carrot that God or the universe dangles in front of you to get you to go through a process that you should be going through intrinsically anyway, right? Now, to your question about, well, what's the first step? Man, I used to do personal training with clients. And if it was somebody who was super overweight or just felt uncomfortable or out of place in the gym, the thing that I would have them do for the first week, first 7 days of working with me is literally go to the gym, take a lap, walk out, get in your car, go home. 7 days in a row. Like, I literally don't want you to touch a weight. I don't want you to think about how much cardio you should be doing. I don't want you to think about how you should be working out. I don't want you thinking about any of that. All I want to do in that first 7 days is break the pattern of you not showing up for yourself. So all I want you to do is go to the gym, take a lap, and go home for 7 days straight. And once you've proven that you can do that to yourself for 7 days in a row, now let's go in and get on the treadmill for 10 minutes. We don't have to do anything. It's not a 2-hour CrossFit workout. We're not doing anything crazy. Just go walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes. Because, I mean, heck, you've been there 7 days in a row. You may as well hop on the treadmill, right? And then you just start to build these small wins and small receipts with yourself. So the first thing you got to do is just start small. Now to your last question about what is it going to take to motivate somebody to take that first step? My question in response to that would be, why do you need, like, what has gotten you to think so little of yourself? What kind of trauma have you been through that you don't love yourself enough that you're intrinsically motivated to get up and go to the gym or to do a devotional every day or to talk to your family and spend intentional time with your wife and kids? Like, what has convinced you? Because that's not who God told us we were. We were told we were the head and not the tail. We were told that we were a chosen generation of the royal priesthood. So what convinced you? What of this world convinced you that you need motivation to go show and prove that you care about yourself enough to invest in the best version of you? And then once we figure that out, you're not going to need any Post-it notes on your freaking bathroom mirror. That's got to be an internal. You can try all the personal development hacks in the world. It ain't going to work. Right. But if you can understand where that deep-rooted lack of self-worth comes from, and we can fix that, everything else is just downstream from fixing the root issue.
Yeah, I wanna make a strong pivot because I wanna go to pre-swag B. You know what I mean? Like, I wanna go you know what I'm saying, bodybuilding B. I wanna go to the guy who was driving from the University of Michigan to go to the University of Michigan State to go to a volunteer program to listen to ET, only to be a volunteer support to ET for years just to learn. Like, I want to go to the beginning of this version of you that we see now. I remember, man, before COVID. So this was like 6, 7, 8 years ago. You had your hat on. You know what I mean? You were just like, whatever. I got grabbing water bottles. Like, I remember just being in a servant spirit. Talk about why that part of your life was so important for you to walk into the version of who you are now. Now you're affectionately known as being the culture and the community. Like, you've been mentioned in the UOU book. People now asking you to sign the book. Like, it's so many things have changed from you just being that guy who took that road trip from the University of Michigan to Michigan State just to volunteer to listen to ET. Talk about why that was so important for you, and also talk about how that has helped you to walk into this chapter.
Yeah. The way that all started was crazy, man. I was going through a rough time in college. You know, my stepfather was diagnosed with cancer a couple times. Mom was diagnosed with a terminal autoimmune illness. I got cut from the team over and over and over again. You know, those who know my story, I was basically cut from the gymnastics team at Michigan. Basically every single year, came back to win 2 Big Ten championships as a coach of the same team I was cut from. I was not close with God at all during that, era of my life. And I just needed help. And so when I was at my lowest, I went to YouTube and typed in motivational speaker. And of course, the one and only E.T. the hip hop, the very first video and the second and the third and the fourth, he's, got a monopoly over the motivation industry. So it's all that I saw. And I was just attracted because I'd never seen somebody just speak life in that way. Like nobody had ever talked to me like that. And I'm not, knocking my childhood or anything like that. My parents did a great job, but I'd never felt that kind of energy and that kind of passion when pouring into me. I just never experienced that before. And then you want to tell me this guy's making money while he's helping all these people like this? Like this is the coolest thing I've ever seen, right? And so I started binge watching all of his content. Before you know it, I got hit with a retargeting ad, and it was $250 for a one-on-one phone call with ET. It was a Christmas special in like 2018 or something. Yesterday's price is not today's price. If you hit me,
I'm about to say.
oh, it'd be the same deal.
Boy, have times have changed.
Man, let me tell you how long ago this was. They didn't even have a landing page with a checkout. It was literally PayPal this email address, $250, and ET's going to call you. That's how long ago it was. Right? And
I tell people, man, I connected with E in 2011, and 2012, 13, and 14, he mentored me for free, like 4 days a week.
Yeah.
It was insane the access I had back in those times. Man.
It's crazy.
Because people don't realize he used to just give out his number. He would speak and give out his number.
Unfortunately,
he was like,
he still does.
He was like, Chris, yeah, but he was like, Chris, people don't actually call. They don't actually call. It's like, I was like, E, that's crazy that you be giving out your number. Anyway. No. No.
People don't actually
No, they don't
call.
go.
Real? People actually don't call.
It's crazy. But so yeah, that happened. I was putting myself through school at the time. I had student loans, but nothing else. And I was making $100 a week working for the same gymnastics team that I'd been cut from the university at that time. So that was basically all that I had, right? So I PayPal him the $250. We hop on the phone. I tell him my story. I have a lot of commonalities. He lives an hour and a half away in Lansing. I'm in Ann Arbor. Both spend a lot of time at Huntsville. And throughout the conversation, he eventually says, hey, if you'll come meet me for breakfast at Sophia's Pancakes in Lansing, Michigan it was either 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, then I'll sit down and talk with you. And I didn't even know 4 o'clock in the morning was a real, place on the clock. I'd never been awake at that time. As far as I was concerned. So I had to wake up at, 2 a.m. so I could make it out there by 4. And we ended up sitting down, and man, that conversation changed my life. And that was actually how I ended up going to the Success Series, how I started volunteering at the events and the conferences. It was all from that moment. So it really was ET reaching his hand out and extending help to somebody that I guess he saw.
Classic ET.
Right, exactly. But, to directly answer your question, why was that important for me? I think a lot of times, especially as men, we have egos. And I think we're so in a hurry to be the guy. We want to get to the top and have our name known so fast. But if you get there too quickly, I promise you it's going to fizzle out. I've been in this industry long enough now that I've seen these influencers pop up and they're crushing it, making all sorts of money. They got their Lamborghinis on Instagram and everything else. And then 2-3 years go by and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Where'd that guy? He was making noise 2 years ago. Where'd he go? Because they went fast and they didn't have a level of character or exposure that could sustain them at that place that their talent had gotten them to. And so the biggest thing that helped me with being around ET as a young guy, I was 20 when this all started. The biggest thing that helped me was just not, the entrepreneurial things he taught me or him teaching me how to speak or anything like that. That stuff was great, but I got an up close view of how he treats his wife, of how he talks to his kids, of how he deals with clients. That stuff, how he talks to God even. That was what has allowed me, I think, to sustain whatever level of success that I've had since then. And so I think if you don't have that exposure and if you're not willing to humble yourself to go serve somebody who's been there and done that, man, you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot whenever you do get there, because you're going to be unprepared, not from a talent standpoint, but from a character and spiritual standpoint.
Man, I got to change this back to Chisy, because you said some 2 words powerful: exposure and humility. I remember I had hit a wall as a man. Like you said, I had an ego, was prideful, Brandon, and I met E, and I couldn't believe not only did he expose me, but he humbled me at the same time. It's like he exposed me to what a man could be like, because I needed somebody to show me, because I was struggling. But then he carried humility and how he walked it out. So I was just like, I'm a jerk. Like this guy is this successful, this amazing, and this humble. My humility is nowhere near this guy. And Chizzy, and Brandon, I don't know if you know, but he always talks about our relationship. We've known each other for 20 years, but he had to come to me like, bro, help me with this as a man. And that takes like we were talking about this with the other client. Like you gotta have that own will to come to your own space as a man, to humble yourself, to be like, bro, I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to serve. I'm not playing games. And unfortunately for a lot of us, God got to bring us. I always tell people, I feel like all the men I know, God had to bring you to your knees, bro, because our pride is so strong, man. So yeah, I want to get that back to you, Chizzy.
Let me jump in really quick just on that point. I feel like that's so important, because if you're listening to this right now and you're at a place where you're struggling to do that on your own accord, like you're struggling to step up and humble yourself, which is it sounds like an oxymoron, but it's not. You got to surround yourself with people that are going to do it for you and hold you accountable. Like sometimes when you're not ready, God will put other people in your life that are ready to help you do it for you. And so I just remember, I was young. I was 19 and I was in college. I was going to this gymnastics camp. I'd been dating this girl for like a year and not proud of it by any stretch of the imagination. So I ended up cheating on her when I was 19 years old. And my best friend at the time, literally, and we'd never had any like deep conversations. Like we were just cool from start to finish, having great time together. We were both athletes, both in college, like nothing deep or philosophical ever between us. And that happened. And he literally pulled me aside and he was like, bro, you do that again, I can't be your friend. Like, I'm not going to be around that kind of behavior. If you know somebody in your life that is struggling to regulate themselves, you might need to be that person for them that goes to them and is like, dude, I expect more of you. Like my standard for you as a friend is higher. And part of being in a productive male friendship is not just, oh, we're just hanging out, having fun. Part of being in a supportive male friendship is you got to be willing to call your friends out on stuff like that. Because I don't know, I don't know how many more years I would have gone on behaving that way had he not said that. So he had to check me for me to change, because I wasn't ready to change on my own accord yet. So again, if that's you, if you're the third player in that situation, speak up, because that's actually the whole thing you can do for your boy.
And I would venture to say that's a skill better learned sooner in life, because as you escalate and get elevated and you go through a place of a level of success and you progress along life in that particular way, it's even more difficult to keep the right people around you. It's even more difficult to be humble in that space, because you feel like you're arrived. And although all of us are achieving or trying to achieve goals and we want to achieve greatness, relatively speaking, I just need to ask you specifically, how do you maintain humility in that space? For all intents and purposes, you have access to people, to the right people, and ego and pride and all these things are always going to be in us as men. It's just what it is. How do you stay humbled? How do you keep level-headed and not allow influence, numbers, access, opportunity to now shift who God's called you to be, shift the character, shift, what potentially can be, because pride cometh before the fall of man, you know what I mean? It could potentially be very damaging as you escalate and as you have access.
Man,
how do you stay
preach from
humble
the soapbox or
in this
nothing,
particular
but
space?
it really is God. Mostly because I think I'm aware enough that when I look at my own life trajectory and my own even career path, like people ask me how this all happened. I'm like, bro, I don't know, God. Like I can't even explain my career to nobody in a way that actually makes sense, you know? Like, oh, wait, so you were an introvert and you had panic attacks introducing yourself on the first day of class in front of like 15 other students when you were 22 years old as a fifth year senior in Michigan. And now you're on stages and, you know, you got billionaires who will text you back. It's like, how'd that happen? I don't know. God, he called me to go do this and to serve, and I did it, and it kind of worked out. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. So I think that because I recognize the level of grace that I've received from God, the level of direction he gave me that I was not able to give myself. It's just like, I know I didn't do any of this. You know, I worked hard for it, but I didn't necessarily, I didn't deserve any of this, certainly. And so I know that God can take it away. So I didn't give it to myself, but he can sure take it away, and I can take it away from myself if I mess it up. So that's honestly.
Yeah. Wise words from a young bull. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like this, he acting like an OG right now in the game. You know what I'm saying, Chizzy? But yeah, but man, you have this unique story about you, man, and this unique way that you're able to connect. In this authentic way, man. I've grown to appreciate, you know, your journey more and more, man. And thank you for taking the time to be on our platform. But kind of as we kind of close out, share what you know what you have on your heart. You know, as guys are getting prepared to have, you know, 2026 is here. And, you know, everybody's going to have this physical goal. You know, guys the gym's gonna be popping. You know, and goals going to be set. But what can you share with the men to kind of help them and encourage them to move forward to be the best version of themselves in 2026?
Man, it's crazy that you asked that, and that's just another validation that this is a God thing right here, because we didn't talk about this before we hopped on, and literally 5 minutes before we jumped on this link here to record, I just had this idea that God gave me, and I think this is going to perfectly answer what you just asked. So I wrote, you can be a man by virtue of your biology. You can be a great man by virtue of your accomplishments, but you can only be a good man by virtue of your character. That's just what God gave me before the camera started rolling. So I think going into 2026,
that's called mic drop.
Going into 2026, I would just encourage people to keep the main thing. You know, don't major in minor stuff. And at the end of the day, especially as a man, there's so much on your shoulders.
Yeah.
You know, you truly are the leader of yourself first and foremost. You're the leader of your family, and it starts and stops with character. You know, you can chase the accomplishments all you want, but it's not going to make you into the person that God had in mind when he created you. Only your character development's going to do that.
Yeah, right, man. Chizzy, closing remarks.
Agreed. Man, I just want to thank you for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom. Like Crump said, very wise for your years. Obviously, wisdom is something that you know you gain from experience, from rubbing shoulders with the right people. So I want to thank you for sharing your story and spending time with us on the platform, man. You know, keep doing what you're doing, brother. Service is the greatest. I think service is the greatest attribute and the greatest thing you could do for not just for yourself, but for humanity, because it's intangibly rewarding. Of course, there's tangible things that you get from service, but I think service is a gift. The gift of service is an amazing thing because, as we know, selfishness is what we all possess. Selfishness is how we're driven mostly, and it's only when you sharpen and you work on your character through God that you recognize that service is the way. That's the way Jesus Christ did it. Service is what we're called to do. So I want to applaud you and thank you for sharing your story and sharing your time with us on this platform, man. And I just wish you all the best and continue to stay tapped into our platform. We're gonna look forward to seeing what your journey continues to do,
and
man.
I know you usually, bro, you're in the background, you know, you're doing your thing, you're making things happen. But man, you done came outside. You got your mantra, your trademark, every day is every day. You know what I mean? You popping on the IG now. So tell the people what's in store for B, man. What you got going on? And how they can follow you as well.
Yeah. I am B Burns on all social media. And it's funny that we're doing a podcast right now because I'm pretty sure the Brandon Burns show is going to drop in 2026. Somebody planted that in my head. a guy named ET.
Come on.
So
Yeah, cool.
it's going to be coming down.
You heard it here first. It's exclusive. You heard it here first.
I haven't even told anybody either. Like it's literally ET and Jose are the only two people that actually know that this is going to happen. So yeah, you really did hear it here first.
Come on, man. This when you come to find that exclusive content, man. Only here in the Boy Man King podcast, man. We in these streets, man. We know who know. You know what I'm saying? Man, that's what I'm talking about. But B, man, again, man, I always have respect for you, man, and the journey. I really wanted to have you on because I just feel like your journey is such a unique in the space of being a man who went a different route, who went unconventional, who just trusted God, who connected to a mentor, who served right with ethics and character and commitment. Like I seen you do it for years. It wasn't like, some people are like, oh, I'm here to, but we get this, as you know, at this stage of our career, we get this all the time. I'm ready to serve. I'm ready. And it's like, nah, you was year on, year on, year on, year on. Like I'm serving. And man, to see you where you are now, bro, man, it's just the beginning. I'm looking forward to what God's going to do in and through your life, bro. And as we say on the Boy Man King Pod, man, the journey continues, man. Be blessed, bro. Appreciate you.
Peace.